Vancouver City Council wants to reduce the impact of so-called renovictions on renters in this city. Now, a new report by staff shows that more than 1,800 units were renovated, leading tenants to likely be displaced over the past 6 years. Meanwhile, the stock of affordable rentals continues to drop. Well, for more on this, on the line is Tim Stevenson, as you know, Vision Vancouver City Councillor. Councillor, good morning.
Good morning, Rick.
You've been working with, and we've been hearing about renovictions now for years. Why is the city deciding to act now? What's happened?
Well, for one thing, Mayor Robertson committed in the last election to keep moving on housing and doing everything that we can to support renters. So that was an absolute commitment by Vision and the mayor, and so a part of the reason is that. Secondly, for the first time in the history of Vancouver, we have a renters advisory committee in the city who advises to council on the issues that are facing renters. It's a committee that's made up of renters, and this is the first time we've ever had this, and they came out with a report November the 18th, making a number of recommendations. As you know, in Vancouver, over 50% of Vancouverites rent, which is very high, 80%, including myself, of West Enders rent. So this is a big issue, and as you say, the renovation issue has emerged because, of course, a lot of the stock is getting older. A lot was built in the 60s, 70s, even before that, 40s and 50s, and it needs upgrading, and that's created problems. So that's the reason for the push at this time. So
the landlord's really caught in between here then, because if he or she has to make repairs because they've got an older property, yep, they have to ask the person to leave while they fix the suite. And then at the same time, do not landlords have the right to do what they can to increase the value of their property?
Well, yes, they obviously want to increase the value of the property, but also tenants have rights as well. And this is basically to tighten up some of those rights. There's only so much that the city itself can do. A lot of this lands with the province and the Residential Tenancy Act, and we're pushing, as is the advisory committee, to bring some changes in there. But the overwhelming majority, Rick, of landlords in this city obviously do very good work, keep care of their buildings and their tenants. I live in a marvelous building that's built in the 60s and is cared for. But there are some that obviously have been let go and that need to be brought up. So this is addressing those. But we have, I should say we, the staff has been consulting with Landlord BC, have been working with other stakeholders as they've come up with these policies, and we find that they have a lot of common ground with landlords. Obviously, they want to bring up their units, and they want to keep tenants, and they want to have fair rents. But we do need to have protection for tenants, and that's what this is about. Is our first priority is, in fact, to protect and preserve existing rental units, but we need stronger requirements for landlords to support the tenants.
So then what can the city do? What's the city's plan to increase protection for renters then?
Well, at the present time, this report extends tenant relocation requirements to all zoning districts, except for single family, of course, industrial. It increases tenant compensation up to 6 months of free rent for tenancies over 20 years. It increases compensation moving costs up to $1,000. It also gives additional support to vulnerable tenants, those with disabilities, mental illness, and so on. And it requires developers to provide tenants who request assistance a minimum of 3 options for alternate accommodation at no more than the CMHC average rents for that particular area. But the biggest changes that need to come about will be through the the province. In Ontario, if there is a renovation, you get first right of refusal. In other words, you are able to come back into your unit after it's renovated at the same rent. We don't have that in BC. They do have that in Ontario, but that does come under provincial jurisdiction. So we're very keen that the province have a look at all of these issues as we now continue to build new rental units. Over 1,000 this year in Vancouver are being built, opposed to, say, none back in 2008, 2009, that time.
And really, Councillor, isn't that the nub of the issue? I mean, these measures will help renters in the short term, but the real issue here is a lack of affordable rental stock in this community.
Well, absolutely. I mean, as you know, the price of land here is so high, and that's our problem. And we have been getting no help from the provincial government or the federal government for some time. And we're hopeful that now, with this new federal government, that things might change. We got strong refusals from the last federal government, but we've had really promising indications from this new government that they're going to get back into the housing market. And as you say, that's the key.
Councillor, the Carnegie Community Action Project says while the recommendations are encouraging, they say they're not enough. And I want to quote here. They say, the proposed guidelines will, at best, soften the blow of eviction for a small number of tenants. The new reforms only apply when a development permit has been approved and, as such, exclude the large number of tenants who are illegally evicted before this stage, unquote. How do you respond to that?
Well, these are some of the issues that are coming out of the report. The report goes to council today. We obviously are going to be pushing the staff on these particular points, that one included. And I know the staff are very aware of these issues and actually are grateful for the input that's come in over the past while since this report has gone public. So I'm looking forward to the staff dealing with these today. And you never obviously are able to deal with everything, but this is a big start. I mean, this will give the most protection of any municipality in BC for tenants. So yes, can we go further? Can we get the province involved? Hopefully, and get more protection. But this is an excellent report by the staff to begin to deal with this really vexing problem that we have.
Finally, sir, the report suggests the city provide additional support for vulnerable tenants. So who's considered to be vulnerable?
People such as those with mental illness there's actually it's a very interesting question. It's one that I asked directly with staff, and they're looking at the various categories. How far is this going to expand? But at the moment, obviously, this deals with those with disabilities, mental illness, that kind of thing.
All righty. Tim Stevenson, thank you.
You're welcome.
Tim Stevenson, Vision Vancouver City Councillor.